Today, we've got a very special build that I've been dreaming of doing for years. We're going to take this beautiful, clear, classic Macintosh shell and build a modern Mac into it. We're building the ultimate resto-mod Mac, so stay tuned. And if you enjoy taking something old and something new, and I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Now, we're no strangers to resto-modding old Macs here on Action Retro. In fact, we recently put an M4 Mac into an old iMac G4 to great success. It looks and behaves just like the original 2000s computer and uses the original LCD. And I want to use this same philosophy with this build. And that's a bit more difficult to do with this era of computers. For one, I don't want to sacrifice an original 1980s Mac. Even a broken one is probably worth repairing instead of parting out. Luckily, our friends at Mac Effects have done another run of their beautiful, injection-molded clear Macintosh SE replacement cases. And they've generously sent me one to use in unusual ways. Another question is display. On the iMac G4, we had the benefit of a somewhat modern-ish original LCD that we could interface with thanks to that board from Juicy Crumb. However, the display in a compact Macintosh, well, that's not easy to interface with. These originally came with a 1-bit black and white display at 512 by 342 resolution, and integrated video with no easy way to splice something modern into it. And that's not going to cut it for running modern macOS on this thing. So we actually have two options, and we'll take a look at both before deciding. Okay, now we need a computer to stick in this thing. Fortunately, I happen to have this Tupperware full of an unceremoniously disassembled Mac Mini M2. And there's actually something really special about this particular Mac Mini M2, but you'll have to wait in suspense until we boot this thing up for the first time. Right after this quick word about today's sponsor, Delete Me. Okay, story time. When I was a wee young naive retro, I shared my full name and childhood home address on a vintage computing forum. Search engines quickly picked up this forum post, and then the data brokers got it. And for years, long after I didn't live in my childhood home anymore, that address haunted me online. This is exactly the kind of thing that today's sponsor Delete Me can help to address. Since starting this very public YouTube adventure, I've made attempts to manually clean up my personal information. Well, Delete Me not only found all this stuff floating out there, but they showed me a ton of data brokers and websites that have this information. And they helped me delete it. I wonder if that's where they got the name Delete Me from. Seriously, it's harder than ever to keep your private information private. And with all the dangers floating out there online, like phishing scams, identity theft, it's more important than ever to protect your private information. Get 20% off your Delete Me US consumer plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/actionretro and use promo code ActionRetro at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/actionretro, code ActionRetro. So here is our victim. This is actually a little bit of a famous M2 Mac Mini. It was featured on the DOS Dude 1 YouTube channel, where he upgraded the non-upgradable built-in storage by literally soldering on new storage chips. I will definitely link that down below. Worth noting that it's not the best idea to play around with your computers with the cases off. Now, unfortunately, I have lost the power switch for the Mac Mini a bit. So there is a trick to turning this on. I just have to jump 2 points on the board. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that. She still works. Okay, let's take a look at screen options. The first option is this, which I originally intended to go with for this build. It's a screen salvaged from an iPad, and this is a cheap controller board that gives us HDMI input, and we can combine that with this 3D printable bracket that Mac Librarian made for exactly this purpose, to mount this perfectly inside of a classic Macintosh case. We just need to take the ribbon cable from the display, stick it into this connector. Oh yeah, there it is. Awesome. All right, well, first thing to notice is the aspect ratio is a little wonky, so let's log in to change that. And then this would be super easy to mount in this case, because this is literally just pressure fit into the pre-existing screw cutouts. Well, look at that. Now our second option, which is the one that I really want to work, is this. It's a 9-inch monochrome SVGA monitor, literally called the Miracle. And I have to thank DOSDude1 for pointing me in this direction. He actually has one of these that he was going to do something similar with. I'm hoping that one of these super cheap HDMI to VGA adapters will just work. Oh, it sees it. Look at that. Well, it's getting something. Am I really going to be trial and erroring all of these resolutions? I guess so. Hold, please. Well, I've tried all of these adapters and none of them worked. But then I realized there is another, even sillier solution that I hadn't considered. This is an external USB video card. All right, I have installed the drivers for this StarTech display link thing, and let's see how well she works. Holy smokes, look at this. It's squished, but that's a stable image. So I think what we can do when we take this thing apart, mess around with the controls to, scooch this out a little bit this way and see if we can get a good looking display. But hey, this thing is gonna work. All right, standard disclaimer that CRTs are dangerous. They can have spicy voltages inside even when powered off. Do not disassemble them. All right, I'm going to disassemble and desolder wires until I can get the tube out on its own. This is the second time I've removed this board. I did already recap it. All right, let's figure out mounting. So the Macintosh SE case, including this replacement clear case, has 4 mounting holes here. So best case scenario, this thing's mounting bracket lines up with these holes. Of course, that's impossible. You are never gonna believe this. Frickin' lines up. Look at that. All the holes line up, and even the curvature of this CRT lines up. That's frickin' amazing. How is that even possible? No frickin' way. That looks incredible. Also, it kind of looks like a ghost Mac. Now we definitely have to figure out the image height issue. Probably also extend these wires here and figure out how to mount this board. All right, so unfortunately, no matter how much I tinker with the adjustment controls on the CRT itself, I cannot get an image bigger than this with the 800 by 600 resolution. And further, based on the tiny amount of information I was able to find online on this subject, apparently Apple Silicon Macs don't support resolutions under 800 by 600. What kind of totally mad person would be trying to run modern Mac OS at 640 by 480? But I had a chat with Mr. Colin, and I have an idea. Oh my God. Look at this. This looks freaking amazing. Slight caveat though. Unfortunately, I've switched to an Intel Mac Mini, which happily supports resolutions under 800 by 600. Instead of 640 by 480, it's 720 by 480, and holy smokes, it looks incredible. So I guess back in the Tupperware of shame for you. All right, I've taken the liberty of replacing the original electronic spaghetti on the CRT with much longer electronic spaghetti. So I think we can do a test fit and just stick this stuff in the case and see if we can get the full effect. Oh wow, this is a thing of beauty. My goodness, look at this. A vintage Macintosh running macOS 12.7.4 Monterey. The look and the feel of it, I mean, ignore the spaghetti mess inside, we'll worry about that later. This is exactly what I dreamt of building. Actually, this USB keyboard isn't going to cut it. Check this out. It's an Apple Extended 2 keyboard with an ADB to USB from Drackware. Can't forget our totally appropriate mouse pad either. All right, I have taken some slight liberties with this poor Mac Mini. So if you're allergic to high levels of jank, I recommend turning away now. For power, we are powering this right off of the monitor's analog board. Factory speaker? I don't think so. I've hotwired in this giant clown speaker and it sounds awesome. Same thing with the power button. I've hotwired in this thing so we can turn it off and on from the outside of the case. And in my least janky modification, we now have an SSD running Monterey. And if you're wondering how I'm going to fit all of this into the case, yes. Ah, it's so stupid. All right, if this thing just works, I think this is probably going to be the most cursed computer that I own. All right, monitor initialized. Let's hit the power button. It chimed. It chimed through the clown speaker. Don't worry about this garbled nonsense. That's normal. It will pass. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. Oh, yeah. It's my Macintosh SE i5. All right, let's brighten up this display a bit with a light mode theme. This is freaking awesome. My goodness, look at this. All right, I also have to set the dock bar to have a zoom effect. Magnification, yep. Absolutely essential. We should be online. Yeah, we are connected via Wi-Fi. We can try a little light video watching on this thing. Hey, it's Mac84. Steve recently made a color SE30.
Time to drive an external monitor, but
hey, wait a minute. I don't see any colors. And this speaker gets really freaking loud.
Extended desktop space, which I'm sure may be stealing a few CPU cycles.
That's awesome.
Release a color-capable all-in-one Macintosh.
Let's try downloading my favorite open source first-person shooter, Sauerbraten, because also it has an excellent soundtrack. And playing this on the extended keyboard really frickin' does it. It just feels like it shouldn't be possible. What a ridiculous idea this was. How about a little Minecraft while we're in a gaming mood? Minecraft does not know what to do with this resolution. Oh yeah, we're Minecrafting. Gotta crank this brightness all the way up for grayscale. How ridiculous and how freaking amazing. Well, yeah, there's that soothing Minecraft music. All right, well, now that this thing frickin' works, we can move on to more exciting things like actual cable management inside this case and designing and 3D printing some actual internal structure. But this project is very much a labor of love that I've always wanted to do, and I'm not sure how interesting this is to you all. So if you'd like to see me continue building out this ridiculous machine, let me know in the comments down below. I'm probably going to bring this thing to VCF East, which is coming up in, well, about a week. April 4th. So if you want to see it in person, come on down. But if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more weird stuff like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. And I just want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for supporting me and supporting this channel and all the weird stuff I do. I am so very grateful, and I just could not do this without you.